Let me tell you something. Do you find the Smiling Friends second season was less funny? Or do you find Vivzie's brand of safe, edgy humor to be grating? Well, type out that well-thought-out hot take below, while imagining Charlie from Smiling Friends and Charlie from Hadel Hotel fighting over it for the time being. But for now, let's take a look at how these two media giants deal with criticism like this. Alex Hirsch, Genndy Tartakovsky, and what the hell, Miyazaki. All recognizable animators that didn't get where they are today without criticism. Criticism is a natural part of making art. No show is perfect, and when you put something out into the world, people are gonna have opinions. Some fair, some nitpicky, and some outright toxic. God knows I know this as a small YouTuber. How creators react to that criticism can define their work just as much as their art itself. Some take it in stride, using it to refine their vision. Others push back, seeing any negative comment as an attack. Take a creative like Zach Hadel, the mind behind Smiling Friends. He falls into the first category. Despite the internet being flooded with opinions on his show, you won't see him lashing out at critics or getting defensive about found complaints. In fact, it's damn near impossible to find anything doing research online. Instead, he keeps quiet, listens, and most importantly, lets his work speak for itself. Across his career, from Hellbenders to Smiling Friends, he's shown an ability to adapt without ever losing his unique voice, and God bless him for that.
I really hate to startle you, I really hate to bother you, but you are by far the most beautiful creature I've ever seen before.
Then on the other end of the internet spectrum, you look at Vivian Madrando, creator of Hadel Hotel. She built her entire empire through raw passion and undeniable drive, but early on, she struggled with negative feedback, sometimes engaging with detractors in ways that fueled more backlash. So let's take a deeper look at how both of these creators handle feedback, and why it matters for the future of both of their works. And just a reminder, because I'm not one of those cool small YouTubers that somehow get sponsored, I gotta do this all on my own. So a quick like and a comment would mean the world. It's a quick click for you, but it would help get the algorithm's attention. What do you think? Is Vivzie improving? Or do you think we're getting closer to her having another meltdown on Blue Sky or Twitter if she returns? As mentioned before, Vivian Madrando, better known as Vivziepop, has had a long reputation for engaging with her critics online. Sometimes a little too much, as I'd said. Over the years, she's been painted as someone who just can't handle negative feedback, largely because of her habit of responding to random Twitter accounts. At times, her responses felt a little more like a wine mom, a little too lost in the sauce on a Friday night, doom-scrolling through her feed, firing off replies to every stupid opinion she stumbles across. It's kind of that behavior that, while understandable for somebody so deeply invested in their work, can easily turn into a PR nightmare. I mean, while her show is still all around enjoyed by most, despite its faults, just doing a quick Google search of her name will give you plenty of negative videos and articles following all of her behind-the-scenes antics online. That aside, recent activity suggests she's actually learning to keep her cool and turn this around. On Blue Sky, her posts have taken on a much more relaxed tone, resembling the casual and detached style of creators like Zach Hadel and Michael Cusack, only really posting art and talking about the fanbase without actually actively engaging in it. And yet, despite this growth that's been pretty noticeable, people still try to pin her down as someone who can't take criticism, as if she's doomed to forever be that creator who fights with her fans. Take the most recent drama, for example, a so-called controversy that barely qualifies as one in the first place. People are in an uproar over the fact that Hadel Hotel's villains are being turned into merchandise, as if selling a plush of Vox or Valentino is somehow an endorsement of all their really bad actions. By that same logic, Smiling Friends would never be able to sell Mip or James or even Mr. Frog figures. God forbid anybody know you'd vote for Mr. Frog. It's clear that this controversy and her reaction to the criticism isn't about moral concerns. It's just another excuse to dogpile on Vivzie, because she's just an easy target to them. And honestly, she has every right to call these people out for being stupid. And while Vivziepop is still justified for her responses, she desperately needs someone else to make the comments instead of her, because it's actually retroactively making people talk about her even more, as she still tends to be a bit inflammatory in terms of her responses online. However, I can still completely see where she's coming from. The idea that a show can't sell merch of its villains without condoning them is laughable, especially when you know that a lot of these people would have no issue buying a known pro-genocider, shirtless Eren Yeager model online. And honestly, there should be no problem with that. That's just the way it is. It's just business. The reality is, Vivziepop has improved in how she handles online criticism. She's not perfect, but she's no longer the reactive, easily baited creator people love to paint her as. At some point, the internet might need to catch up on that fact, and I guess to an extent, that's kind of the purpose of my videos, even if the subtitle and the thumbnail insinuates otherwise. But then when one looks at Zach Hadel, you realize he's built a reputation for handling criticism by barely even addressing it at all. Unlike many creators who get defensive or debate fans online, Zach has had a different approach the entire time. He listens, absorbs, and moves on. One of the few times he directly engaged with Smiling Friends discourse was on Reddit, where he shut down the idea that the show had any deep lore, emphasizing that it was never meant to be anything more than absurd and stupid. His attitude towards criticism and online discussion is simple. He's not trying to justify his creative choices or pander to expectations. He just makes what he finds funny. That doesn't mean he ignores feedback entirely. On a podcast, he acknowledged how differently fans rank Smiling Friends episodes. Some called certain episodes the best, while others saw the same as the weakest. He admitted that some weren't as strong, but appreciated that every episode still had its fans.
Nothing has 100% consensus, so I think the best that you can hope for is when that those people that maybe didn't love it, when they chime in and they say, and some people do just hate it, that's fine, but that's gonna happen. But when I've seen comments, people say like, look, this is my type of thing, but I enjoyed this, or this isn't my type of thing, but this one scene or this one moment or this one episode.
Instead of getting lost in online debates, he took it as a learning experience, letting the work speak for itself, rather than arguing over its reception. I mean, just imagine how the show would be perceived if he spent as much time arguing online about the dialogue that they chose to be awkward at certain points. Kind of like a certain someone who argued about the organicness of certain swear words being overused in their show. I'll still fight for you, Zach. Mr. President is peak. This detached approach has also helped him avoid unnecessary controversy, most notably when some tried to paint him as the best friend of Shadman, as if he was on an Epstein list or something. In reality, Zach likely had no real awareness of Shadman's more infamous history, but rather than argue, he did what he does already really well, ignored the noise. By refusing to engage, he let the controversy die down on its own, proving once again that sometimes the best response to drama is no response at all. At the end of the day, both Zach Hadel and Vivian Madrando have taken very different approaches to handling criticism and online controversy. Again, while it might come off as glazing, Zach's strategy has been one of quiet observation, which is genuinely really impressive for a creator of his stature. He rarely engages and never fuels drama. And while he's aware that people give his show negative feedback, I mean, hell, the number of people who said that season 2 just wasn't funny is kind of absurd, but he never made any commentary online about it, rather than turning it into an argument about what is funny and what's not funny. It's a big reason why Smiling Friends remains so well regarded. The show evolves naturally without being weighed down by the creator's discourse. Even if between seasons the show isn't as widely discussed as Vivziepop's, but due to the nature in which she reacted to criticism online, it's unfortunately overshadowed much of her work. But as mentioned previously, there's been a noticeable shift. But that said, is this shift permanent or just temporary because Hazbin Hotel isn't airing yet? Well, you bet your ass I'll be keeping my eye on that. See you next time, guys.